hi guys, here we are on the Personal PR Show, and today it's all about lifestyle, as you can see. And the title of our interview today is The Art of Freedom with Jesse Panama. So that's why we're all wearing a hat, because we're here in the name of freedom. We're home, we're working, we're studying, educating ourselves, but at the same time, we are dreaming of the lifestyle that we can build with what Jesse will teach us. Okay, cool. Yes, so Jesse, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course, lovely to have you with us. And our guest today also, our interviewee today is Jesse, and our guest is Chris Rich, and then maybe we'll have other people joining us. Yes. Okay, cool. So let me spotlight you, Jesse, and spotlight myself as well for the interview. And then Chris Rich later, we will spotlight you as well when you have questions. But first, let's get started with Jesse. Jesse, would you like to introduce yourself and explain why we're all wearing hats?
Why are we all wearing hats? Well, basically, this is why I'm wearing a hat.
I have a bad hair day, but no, it's not just that, the conditioned state of our hair, Jesse, it's also that we're celebrating lifestyle.
Absolutely. We can work with hats, we can work in pajamas, we can work from around the world in hotels and Airbnbs and coffee shops and park benches and on the beach, although the beach doesn't work as well as I thought it would because sound kind of flies into your face and onto the screen. But yeah, I've kind of worked from everywhere, actually, every continent except Antarctica, and it's a wild ride. I don't quite know which direction to take it. I want to kind of do whatever's going to add the most value to everyone who's listening.
That is amazing. Thank you. Okay, how about you briefly introduce yourself so we have an idea of what you do, who you are, and what you do, and then we can talk about your story and what brought you to doing what you do today. What do you think?
That works. So basically, I have had one job in my adult life. That was right out of college, and I realized actually 5 days into that job that I absolutely hated the corporate world. And so, long story short, at the ripe old age of 23, I retired. This was May 15th, 1998. So I've just dated myself. And so May 15th actually is the most sacred day of the year for me, more so than any other sort of normal or recognized holiday. For me, it's my freedom anniversary. And it's also one of the first things I encourage everyone I work with as a coach, and friends in my life, and anyone who's developed freedom for themselves. I really encourage them to celebrate their freedom anniversary because it's such a powerful day. And so at this time when I left my job, this was the late 90s, where the internet was kind of just becoming a thing. So social media did not yet exist. There was no Facebook. There was not even MySpace yet. E-commerce really didn't quite exist yet. I think PayPal had just been invented, and people were just kind of starting to figure out how to sell things and make money online. And so I kind of started a deep dive down that rabbit hole, and I was just determined to make it work. I had always been fascinated by marketing ever since I was a teenager. For me, marketing is really all about human psychology, human behavior, what makes someone tick. And so that's always captured my attention. And in the interest of keeping this brief, basically, it took a couple of years for me to get things going. I tried and failed many different types of online marketing. Finally got into a little bit of a groove, and then after about 2 years, I was able to pay my bills. At least for the first couple of years, it was kind of tough going, and then things really started to take off. And I've done it from just about every angle. So I've been a business owner, I've managed employees, I've bought and sold businesses, I've been a coach, I've been a consultant, I've been an affiliate marketer, I've been a media buyer, I've done traffic arbitrage. I've kind of done and tested just about every angle. But what I found I would say in the mid 2000s, is I kind of hit what I would call sort of an existential crisis, because by that point the freedom honeymoon, if you will, had worn off, and then I started to turn more towards this concept of impact, because I had reached a point where I was blessed to live an extraordinary life and make money and travel the world and kind of be a jet setter, and in your 20s that's cool. I mean, I was, I'm not proud of it, but I would say back then I was really more superficial and maybe looking at more of the external benefits. But as the years went on, and I kind of turned more inward, and had some personal challenges, it really all became about impact for me, and then that intersected, Jessica, with the other thing I found, which is, as I traveled the world, and I would meet people from all walks of life, man, woman, young, old, all ethnicities, countries, cultures. And I noticed there was this common element that so many of them felt. They felt trapped, they felt stuck, they just were fundamentally, I hate to use the word unhappy, but really just not very happy with the course of their lives. They set their alarm every morning, they did the commute, they showed up, they went to work, and all from a very noble standpoint, mostly to support themselves and their families. But they knew there must be a better path, because they'd seen others doing it, but they didn't quite know how. And so they would meet me and they'd ask, what are you doing here? Why are you in our country? Are you on vacation or a holiday? And I'd say, well, not really. I mean, I find travel and culture and exploration fascinating. So I just thought I'd come here for a while and check it out. And no, I'm not really on vacation. In fact, I work every day from wherever I'm staying. If there's Wi-Fi and a laptop, you're in business. And so they would hear that, and they would just become fascinated with this kind of lifestyle, and how can I do this? How can I get it? But then that fascination would quickly turn to kind of doubt and worry, unfortunately, and they would think that they needed to have a great deal of money or connections or be extremely intelligent to be able to pull this off. And I kept trying to convince them that no, you don't. I'm not smarter than you. I don't come from a lot of money. I'm not a master networker like Jessica. I just, if I have anything, it's stubbornness, it's determination, it's an absolute refusal to accept a normal life, a mediocre life. And so I would try my best to convince them, but ultimately I would usually fall short. And the reason for that is because, I've done one-on-one mentoring over the years behind the scenes, and I've helped a number of people. But my weak point, I realized, was that I didn't have a system. I didn't have a methodology. I did so much of it by instinct, which works well for me, but it's not really transferable. You can't just sort of zap whatever instincts are in your mind to someone else. And so that's when I realized, okay, Jesse, if you really want to make this impact that you say you want to make, like, you've got to go into a cave, and come hell or high water, you've got to produce a methodology. You've got to produce something universal that people can apply, that people can follow, and that someone without my direct involvement from any corner of the world can take the system and apply it and get results. And so that's what I did. And it was a hell of a process, and it took a few years of stops and starts, but the result here is this book called The Art of Freedom. Kiss your job goodbye, build a tribe, and leave a legacy. And so one key element, and then I see that you want to jump in, please.
Just one thing. So you created thought leadership with a book, with a system, right? You created a framework and you created a book. So you started your thought leadership journey. Sorry, after you.
I suppose I did. I didn't consciously know I was doing anything like thought leadership. that's always been a term I'd heard of and I'm aware of, but I didn't really think of myself as a thought leader. So I guess I'm happy to discuss that element if that's what you feel would serve the audience.
No. We will see how in which direction our conversation goes. Thank you so much for offering. Let's just keep it, natural. But yeah, I just wanted to highlight this, that you became a thought leader when you published this book, when you established your, let's say, develop your methodology and even published a book about it. Yes, and did other things as well that we will discover soon. Yes, so cool. Well done.
Thank you so much. So much.
Yes, sorry, interrupted you. What did you want to say? Okay, so then you created the book, and
this
is
so I don't know, I'm hearing myself echo suddenly. It seems to have resolved itself. Good.
Is there a technical problem, a sound problem? Is this what you mean? Or
I don't think there is anymore. For a minute, I would hear myself echo. I'd hear my own words repeated back to me, but now it seems to have resolved itself.
It's gone. Okay.
So yeah, I guess briefly coming back to the book, like to me, one of the key elements is the second line of the subtitle where it says "Build a Tribe," because I've tested a lot of different models, and I've kind of been my own lab rat, and I've tried and failed a number of different angles, and then I've had a few successes as well. And I've also been a business coach for many years. I still am a business coach to this day. I don't make that public because Ultimate Vida the Art of Freedom is really the brand I'm looking to build publicly. But behind the scenes, I do have a select few clients who I work with to build their business, and we're seeing absolutely explosive growth with my clients. Business is kind of my jam. I've been doing it for decades, and I do still find it fulfilling if I have a personal connection with the client and I believe in what they're doing. But the reason I bring that up is because I'm also well aware that many people, or even most people who want freedom, they don't have this business background. They may have a degree or a professional background in an entirely different field that has nothing to do with business. So it was very important to me to create something universal, that someone who has no business experience, no marketing experience, can take the methodology and can apply it. And so in my research and in my testing, this concept of tribe and community kept coming up. And so I put it to the test and kind of built some tribes and communities myself. And what I discovered is that is really, that's the most rewarding business model, in my opinion. But crucially, it's also the one that I think stands the best chance of success for someone getting started. And then, not to get too esoteric, but I think from a spiritual and personal development standpoint, it's also the most fulfilling business model, because there's always going to be days for all of us. I'm sure you experience it, Jessica and Chris Rich, where we wake up and you're not feeling it. Maybe you're not in the mood. You don't want to work. We're all human. We have those days. But when you're building a tribe, and when it's not just about you, it's about a community of brothers and sisters around the world who have common goals and hopes and dreams and fears and insecurities, then that can serve as a powerful motivator on those days when you're not feeling it. And then when you take it to the next level and you combine this tribe and community element with a niche or topic that you're actually passionate about, that changes everything. And then the final elements, which I have to mention, because a lot of people, it's almost become a cliche, like, follow your passions, do what you love. And like, yes, that's true to an extent, but a lot of people sadly pour a lot of time and hope and energy and even money into their passion areas without first having validated those niches and those markets to actually make sure it's a viable business angle. And so the methodology takes people how to first uncover the intersection between their skills and passions, and then go through a rigorous validation process to actually make sure this is a viable market. And if you score in all three of those areas, then you have a very good chance of making it work.
Exactly. Wow. Sounds really, really cool. And we'll, talk about your process and your methodology a little bit more in detail in a second, the ultimate Vida methodology. And but before we do, let's set the context maybe of this. And let's create a little sense of urgency, which is a marketing technique that we use, right? But why? So my question would be, why shall we, create our ultimate Vida? And, with the art of freedom, basically, why should we create freedom in our lives today?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, for many years and decades, people have kind of dreamed about freedom, wanted freedom, but at the same time, life a few years ago was, I guess on a broad scale, a lot more conventional. There was still at least some sense of job security for many people. Not as much as in the previous generations, because the entrepreneurship wave had already started taking place. But before the pandemic hit, in the pre-COVID days, I mean, we can almost say pre-COVID and post-COVID now to sort of put a marker on things. But in the pre-COVID days, there was still the corporate world, the business world, the job world, if you will, still looked more or less like it has for many years. I mean, you have a boss, you have a paycheck, you have an office. Granted, not for everyone. There was still some flexibility for some people, but for the majority, it was still somewhat conventional. Now, once COVID hit, it just, I don't need to tell anyone here that it changed everything. I mean, we all went through it together. It wasn't something unique to me or to you, Jessica, or Chris Rich. I mean, it has touched every person and every family in every corner of the globe in different ways. And obviously it transformed, in my opinion, forever, the landscape of the corporate world, and even of the employer-employee relationship of office working versus virtual working. I happen to believe, actually, that even if and when we defeat the pandemic, so to speak, I don't believe the corporate landscape will ever go back completely to the way it was. I think there are so many benefits that have been uncovered to virtual working that even if health-wise we're cleared to go back to the old model, I don't think we ever will. And so what that's done is it's obviously created this movement, which has been termed by the media the Great Resignation. Now, I'm not a huge fan of the word resignation because it has a bit of almost like a negative connotation. Resignation comes from resign. And while it can be empowering to, resign from your job, at the same time, the root of the word resign is kind of negative. Like, yeah, I'm resigning, I'm resigned to do this and to do that. And so what occurred to me with the Ultimate Vida methodology is, what if we can flip that script and flip the Great Resignation on its head completely, and in fact, turn the Great Resignation into the Great Liberation. And
wow.
Yeah, right. What if we can set people free?
This is a perfect soundbite in PR. It's something short, to the point, and very powerful that people will remember. Wow, well done.
Oh, you're the master of sound bites. I'm just trying to learn the ropes from PR. I kind of built this whole thing without any of the brilliance, thought leadership and PR skills that you have. So I'm grateful to be learning from you.
Thank you. Likewise. Wow. Yes, and tell us about this slogan, this tagline, or a soundbite that you have, so you can turn your the Great Resignation into your Great Liberation. What exactly does it mean for us? Who does it apply, especially?
Yeah. So what it means at the core is that whatever your previous work situation was before COVID, or even currently, if you're still in that situation, you have a complete and absolute and total opportunity to transform that and to liberate yourself, whatever that means from you. So for me, and with the Ultimate Vida methodology, what it means at its core, at its essence, is to have a baseline of time and money freedom. So in other words, your time becomes your own. So instead of a boss or an employer or a company owning your time, you own your time. Now, that doesn't mean you don't work, but what it means is you get to define when you work, where you work, how you work, what you work on, and that no one is looking over your shoulder to kind of monitor you and make sure you do it in a certain way. And then from a financial standpoint, what I mean by financial freedom is you have the ability to sustain yourself in whatever lifestyle you choose. And that's obviously a very personal and intimate choice. And that amount that you need or that you want can vary wildly depending on your taste, your lifestyle, where you live, whether or not you're traveling, whether you are single or married or have a family or have kids. But again, when we develop this essence of time and money freedom, that is at the heart of the Ultimate Vida methodology, because that's when we can then, in my view, get to what really matters and kind of do the real work of our lives, which is, why are we here? What are we doing? Again, not to get so esoteric, but this concept of self-actualization has also been one that's fascinated me since I was a teenager. What is our purpose? Why are we here? What is our highest level of service? But the thing is, Jessica, when we're stuck in a conventional lifestyle, and when our primary concern is, paying the bills and putting food on the table and providing for our family, don't get me wrong, there's nothing more noble than that. I mean, I have nothing but absolute respect if that's the priority and if people achieve that goal. But what it does is it deprives us of the energy and the time and the life force that we need to get to the deeper work. And let's forget about self-actualization and spirituality for a minute. Let's just talk about balance and optimizing our life. Key areas like health and wellness, like relationships, like finance. These things often get put on the back burner because, again, when we're in survival mode, it's usually like one step forward, two steps back, one step forward, two steps back. And so we're on this treadmill. But when you have the baseline of time and money freedom, which is kind of in the middle, then you can turn your attention to balancing and optimizing your life and the health and wellness piece, because without health, none of it matters. I mean, without health, freedom is going to be fleeting and temporary. And so when you get there, and then when you have that balance, then you can really go to the highest apex of self-actualization.
Oh my God, I love this. And I have a little observation to do, which can turn into a question. So when you talked about, freedom in terms of money, of time and geography as well, because basically you can live and you can work wherever you want, that reminded me of the 4-Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss, right? And I was like, oh, sorry, I got a message. And I was like, yes, it's similar, right? So it goes a little bit in the same direction. And then I wanted to ask you, because then you continue talking and then it explained itself. So this question now can be a little bit superfluous, at least for me, but maybe we can talk about it for the audience. So how does your methodology differ by the 4-Hour Work Week, which was created and popularized nearly 20 years ago by Tim Ferriss, right? Because I think you go a step further, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm hear myself echoing.
Oh, sorry.
Check.
I hope it's not my tech.
Now it's better. Yeah, so I'm a big Tim Ferriss fan. First of all, let me say that I read his book right when it was published. I believe in 2005.
Yes.
Don't me on that, but it was somewhere around there. And I mean, my first reaction was like, oh my God, like someone's actually talking to me. Like this is actually a thing. This life actually exists because you know, I mentioned tribe a few minutes ago. There was no tribe, no community for people like this. As much as I loved it, I often felt kind of alone and isolated because I didn't know anyone else who was living this kind of lifestyle. So yeah, I mean, Tim Ferriss's book was innovative. It was groundbreaking. Where I think the Ultimate Vida methodology differs from Tim is again, it's very based on tribe and community. I think Tim's original methodology was simply based on you know, doing a business independently online to kind of serve you know, your needs, your lifestyle, and there's nothing wrong with that. But again, what I was looking for was a model that was both universal, meaning you could follow it with no experience or background, and then also, you know, very fulfilling and kind of about something bigger than yourself, where you're showing up not just for you, but for your tribe members, for your family, for your kind of virtual brothers and sisters. And so that's what I really wanted to create with Ultimate Vida.
Absolutely. And it sounds like for Tim Ferriss, you know, freedom, money over, you know, money, geography and time was, so to say, the end game, the end goal. Whereas for you, it is a goal, but it's like just the first goal, so to say. It's like step one, and that there are further steps, right? For example, self-actualization. Would you like to maybe walk us through your process? Maybe you have a graphic as well, right? A graph. Maybe we can share our screen as well if you want.
I do have the graphics. I can just find it.
If you have it, because I remember seeing it before. So maybe if you see something, then it's easiest for us to understand it. Otherwise, we can just talk about it. No worries.
I do have it. I just need to do a quick search to see which folder it's in. Sorry.
Okay, no worries. I have just given you sharing rights in the meantime. Yes. I hope that Chris Rich is getting ready for his Q&A phase section later. Yeah.
I think I may have found it. Okay.
Okay. Awesome. So you can share it.
Should I go ahead and share?
Yes, please. That'd be great. And then maybe you can walk us through the path. It's like a journey, isn't it? Yes.
Are you able to see this?
Yes, we can. Okay, we can see it on Zoom. Let's see. Let's check now on Facebook. Yes, we can. Cool.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. I should have pulled this up right at the beginning, because I was trying to describe how, you know, right in the middle is this time and money freedom, and bam, there it is right in the middle. Because everything we do up to this point, you know, leads us to that baseline, and then that baseline becomes the tipping point from which we can, you know, continue and really focus on what matters, but have the space and the energy to be able to actually do that without kind of being in survival mode. So wow, I mean, walking through this whole thing would take hours. I'd love to, if there's a few highlights that I can point out to serve anyone who's listening, happy to do that.
Yeah, maybe we can just briefly mention what the steps are, and then we can maybe deepen 2 or 3 steps. What do you think? So what is the starting point?
Yeah, I think we can start there, because I'm aware that it can sound great to have this time and money freedom, but it can also sound kind of mysterious and unattainable. And, you know, maybe people who are listening are thinking, okay, great, so I start a tribe, and I can see why that would be rewarding and fulfilling, but how do I actually monetize that? How do I make money with the tribe to get to that baseline? And so that's where, if you remember a few minutes ago, I talked about this rigorous validation process, so that before you even start building a tribe in a certain niche or area, you've dramatically stacked the odds in your favor, because you've done your homework, you've done your research by following the steps in the book, and you are quite certain that money is changing hands in this area, and that people are eager and passionate about the subject matter of your tribe, and they're willing to pay for solutions. And so, like, one of the methodology tools that I use, in fact, allows you to see what courses and paid products are being sold in your area, in a niche that you're considering. And that can be very powerful, because amazingly, this tool also shows how many students there are who have bought these courses, what price are they paying for it. So, for example, you might find this, it's not uncommon to find, say, 3,000 people who have paid $50 for a certain course or a certain module. And so if you just do some math, that's what, $150,000. You're starting to validate things, and I'm being conservative here. I've seen it go into the millions. And the point is, you want to know beyond the shadow of a doubt that, if I jump into this topic that I'm passionate about and that I'm good at and that I want to be of service in, you want to know that there's also an opportunity for you to monetize, because money is already changing hands in this area. And so when you know that, it gives you the confidence to move forward and to start being of service, to start dialoguing with the tribe members that are coming on board, to ask them what they want, and then to create solutions to meet their needs, and to start charging for it, first at a lower level, and then a higher and higher and higher and higher level. Because basically, in business and in life, ultimately we're in the business of solving problems. I mean, that's what the human journey is. It's we never don't have problems in our life. It's simply, okay, what are the solutions? How do I develop these solutions? And then once you solve this problem, then a new problem emerges. And I almost think of a parenting analogy, right? If you have a child, they're gonna pop out on day one and just be kicking and screaming, and that's going to be one problem, if you will, how to take care of a newborn. And then, as they start to develop, and as they start to walk and to talk and to be more independent, that becomes a new level of problem. As they start school, that becomes a new, and so it's always sort of graduating to the next level. And that's the essence of tribe building and community building, and also that we do it together, and that we develop sacred relationships. I mean, some of my closest friends in the world to this day were developed through online tribes, and in many cases I've even traveled and hung out with them in different countries, met up with them in person. So it's not just this virtual kind of otherworldly thing. Like, this is humanity.
Yeah, that's so cool. Wow. And that was one of the first steps, right? But I do see 3 different levels in this model. So I do see, okay, 1, 2, 3, wait, sorry. Maybe I see 9, 8 steps, but 3 levels. What are the 3 levels, by the way?
Absolutely. So on the left, they're kind of just short little labels. So the first level, of course, is get free. And that's, we want to kind of almost put our blinders on and just focus on getting here to this baseline of time and money freedom, because I really do believe, and my research has backed it up, that once you get here, it almost magically unlocks everything else in your life. It can be an uncomfortable truth for people to realize, but if you're not here, then you're kind of always going to be on the treadmill. And I know some people might get kind of mad at me for saying that so explicitly, but it's, you know, that's the reality. And I believe in just calling things what they are. And again, it's time and money freedom. It's that combination, because we all know people who are very wealthy financially, but they're not free. Their time is not their own. You know, the highest paid doctors and lawyers in the world, for example, even if they make thousands of dollars per hour, if they don't show up, they don't get paid. And so we want to get out of the paradigm of trading time for money. Instead of trading time for money, we want to trade value for money. But value can be exchanged 24/7, including while you're asleep. I mean, if someone on the other side of the world is reading this book right now, they're getting value. They're getting immense value from it, no matter what I'm doing, no matter where I am, no matter whether I'm coaching them or at that moment, no matter whether I'm awake or asleep. So we want to, you know, get to this paradigm of changing value for money instead of time for money. And then on the other side, you know, we also know people who have plenty of free time, but they're perpetually broke. I mean, this cliche of a starving artist, for example. And so again, to get to this, to a higher level of fulfillment, I do believe we want to focus on unlocking this baseline of time and money freedom, because once we do, you know, then there's a reason why the next step right here is called balance. And that's on the second level, which is optimize your life. And so under balance, we have health and wellness, relationships, mindset, in our practice. You know, this is kind of the essence of the human experience. And again, when you're on that treadmill and when you're in survival mode, it's really hard to get into this. And so my vision with Ultimate Vida, actually, as the Ultimate Vida tribe develops, I've already lined up world-class experts in these areas: health and wellness, relationships, mindsets, because, you know, while I developed the Ultimate Vida methodology, I am certainly not an expert in all these other areas, but they're just absolutely vital for fulfillments and for you know, living a long and vital life. And so, you know, the vision for Ultimate Vida is so much bigger than me or any one person. It's about empowering people to get this baseline and then to start to balance and optimize their lives, and then really to come up here into this self-actualization journey. And looks like you wanted to make a point, Jessica.
Excuse me?
I'm sorry. I thought you were going to make a point.
I don't know. Sorry, I was just following with great interest. Maybe
Oh,
I
okay.
was doing some face expressions that made me think that. No. I was silent and really focused. So please go ahead. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, I'll just briefly touch on one point up here, because I think self-actualization is a concept that you know, most people are familiar with. Whether they're living it or not is another story. You know, for much of my life, I was not living that, but at least I've heard of it. Now, Ikigai is maybe a lesser known concept. It's beginning to get a little more popular, but so quick primer on Ikigai. So Japan it's perpetually either ranked number 1 or 2 in the world in terms of average life expectancy. And then within Japan, the island of Okinawa is I believe number 1 within Japan for life expectancy. So it's kind of like the best of the best. And when Okinawans are asked, you know, why? What's your secret? How do you live so long? They point to this concept called Ikigai, which there's not really a direct English translation, but the closest we've come to is like a reason for being. So a reason to wake up, a reason to get at it, a reason to, you know, enthusiastically face whatever's in front of you. For example, they find our concept of retirement to be absolutely absurd. They say, why would you ever want to build a life that you retire from? And if you think about it, it makes total sense. I mean, the old model, the old paradigm, at least here in the States, I think you guys in Europe are a lot more civilized, but at least here in the States, it would be, go to college, get a job, and then, you work for 40 years and then, retire in your 60s and hope to kind of have these golden years to enjoy your life. But that's just, to me, that's backwards. And it's also sad. I mean, why not take your younger years, your more vital years, your youthful years, and there's absolutely no reason not to start doing something you love immediately, and again, validate it, of course, so that you can then monetize it. There's absolutely no reason to wait. And so with Ikigai, they kind of get this, and they build a life that incorporates it all. And I haven't really shared this publicly, but I'm strongly considering, actually, for book number 2, I'm really intrigued to actually travel to Okinawa, with an interpreter, of course, because sadly I don't speak Japanese, and really try to take a deep dive into this concept of Ikigai, and talk to the locals and find the common elements, and kind of figure out how to tell the story in a way that resonates and that people can actually apply it.
Yeah, especially for unconventional lifestyles, which seems to be your niche, right? Yes.
Absolutely. And I think that's another point I'll quickly touch on. So the key element here, of course, is freedom, but freedom is a deeply intimate and sacred word and concept. Freedom can mean very different things to different people. For a single guy, it might mean, jet setting around the world, and it might mean, meeting beautiful people, and if that's the case, it's all good. You do you. But for a single mother, for example, freedom for her probably represents, being able to be at home with her child. And so the point is, there's no right or wrong form of freedom. It's very sacred and individual, and so what does freedom represent for you? The point is, this methodology can get you there, and then you get to define your own freedom, and then your own brand of optimizing your life and what balance looks like for you. It's not about copying me or copying Jessica or anyone else. I mean, I can give you tools and I can give you a framework, but then it's about infusing that with your own core values and principles and the kind of life that you want to build and design.
Yes, absolutely. Wow. So we have 3 levels and 9 steps or 8 steps? 8 steps, right? Or even 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Is baseline of time and money freedom a step in itself or not?
I wouldn't necessarily call it a step. That's sort of the baseline or foundation that unlocks everything. Even up here, I would more call this roadmap like a journey than a tangible step. Like, for example, living on purpose, there's not really like one action item that you take where it's like, boom, okay, now I'm on purpose, right? It's more a journey. It's more an evolution. It's more, I hate to use a cliche, but when you make it about the destination and not the journey, then the results kind of take care of themselves. So, this stuff up here, self-actualization, purpose, ikigai, that is the natural result and evolution of taking this journey here, and then of reaching this foundation here, and then of beginning to optimize here. That's where this starts to develop, organically and almost effortlessly, because now you've cleared the space, right? Now you have this blank canvas where you can redefine what your life stands for, what you want it to be about, and in some cases even who you are. You know, we can reinvent ourselves as many times as we want. You know, we're not a tree, right? If we don't like where we are, we can move. We're not rooted to one place.
Yeah. So my last question about the framework is Ultimate Vida the ultimate goal after Ikigai? Or why is it there? Is it just a logo, or is it at the end, let's say, or the journey? And I know that every single step is important, of course, but that also seems to be a destination. So does it come even after Ikigai? Is it even higher than Ikigai, the Ultimate Vida?
Well, the quick answer is yes. If you'll allow me to share one more thing on my screen, I think I can provide a little bit of a visual answer for that. So let me
certainly we can do that, and then we have 10 more minutes, I would say, Jesse, and then we can take Chris Rich's question as well.
Absolutely.
At the end, but yeah, let's definitely have a look at the other visual that you have. I'm very curious. And then Chris Rich will come in for you in a second.
This will just take a second. Okay. So we have a Ultimate Vida manifesto as well. Is that showing? So the reason I thought of this, Jessica, is because when you asked whether it's the journey or the destination, so this line right here says the Ultimate Vida is our journey to freedom and our destination from which we optimize our lives and self-actualize. So in a sense, it's Ultimate Vida is the journey, but it's also the destination from which all other journeys begin, because Ultimate Vida, it simply means ultimate life. You know, Vida means life in Spanish. I have a thing for Latin America, and I've traveled around Latin America. Spanish is the only other language I speak. Unlike you, I don't speak 7 or 8 languages. I only speak 2, but Spanish is one of them. So, but anyway, yes, Ultimate Vida, ultimate life. And when you have that ultimate life, you know, when you've reached this, what was up here, I'm kind of doing it with my hand because I no longer have it on the screen. Again, then you have that blank canvas. Then you get to define what your life stands for, what it's about, what the next steps are. And so, yes, for me, the Ultimate Vida is the apex. And that's why I had it at the top. But of course, it never ends. In a sense, like that's when the real fun begins. I don't know does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. Yes. It's like the different dimensions. Yes, I love that. Thank you for showing us even the manifesto. Maybe you have a website or some links that you would like to share with us. Maybe you can share it in the comment section, because this live is going to become a post in itself, you know, standalone post as soon as we're done with the call, right? So then you can post your links in the comment section if you want, of course. So then we can all find you. We can all find. Is there any freebie as well, like that people can get on your website?
Yeah, actually, I'm kind of surprised I'm still offering this. I probably won't for long, but currently people can actually get a digital copy of the book for free.
Oh my God, for free.
Yeah.
Oh, Chris, excited.
It's a little crazy.
Let's bring it into the spotlight. Yeah.
So yeah, if you just
I would like to have a look at your book. That really sounds cool.
I'd be honored, Chris Rich.
But my question here is now, how exactly do you make so much money? So the question about monetization is next to the vision, just something sometimes interesting. I have the impression this might be a coaching fee or a membership fee for your community, or at a certain point in time with all the free content and the great ideas you share, there is this little point where you say, okay, you want this in addition, then this is the price, and you get enough on a regular basis that you actually can continue on this freedom journey. And here I just think that only a very few people are able to be so great thought leaders that they can attract so many people, where in the end they can also get some customers out of this big, large group where a lot of people do not really pay. They just are there and are fascinated. And here I also see a certain risk that when people are in the corporate world, they want to do that, but they fail. As you hear, many businesses fail, many people try to live their passion, but in the end, their businesses do not really work out properly, and it's not sustainable, and then they lose a lot of money, and in the end, they are on square one. So I think it's important that we inspire and motivate people to try it, at least that they know that it could have worked or not. But in the end, I see we shouldn't forget the risks attached to this journey, and how we want to make money, how we can make money. Everybody wants to make money, needs to make money, but it's actually not that easy, I think.
Yeah.
Also, with the best book and the best advice and the best program, you are your expert in your system. But when just a random person is coming, reading your book, attending your sessions, it's not guaranteed that they really become a millionaire just by following you, I think.
Oh, absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more, Chris Rich. And that's a great point and a great question. There are certainly no guarantees. It definitely takes a tremendous level of dedication, of passion, of persistence, of being willing to fail, actually, because on the journey to success, it's pretty much a certainty that you will fail multiple times. I have failed just countless times. I've failed over and over and over again, and so that's, you know, that's a vital element of it. And that's also one of the reasons why I think the tribe and the community model is so crucial, because as a tribe, you know, we pick each other up. You know, we're not in it alone. And, you know, if I'm having a hard time, maybe you lend a hand. If you're having a hard time, maybe I lend a hand, and you know, we do it together. But I also wanted to come back to, I think, a really important point you made, which is that if you're still in the corporate world, or it doesn't even have to be corporate world, if you still have a conventional job, I'm not by any means suggesting that, you know, even if you find what I'm saying inspiring, even if you read my book and you love it and you say, okay, I want to do this, I'm not saying that means you should march into your boss's office, you know, today and say, I quit. I mean, again, that's a very personal and intimate decision. You want to, now, of course, if you have some reserves, some financial reserves, and if you have the ability to leave your job and give yourself a full runway to start something online, then great, it might be the right decision. But if not, there's absolutely no reason why you can't keep your job and start building your ultimate Vida, you know, in your free time, or, you know, instead of Netflix, or instead of whatever else you're doing. Like, I'll give you an example, actually. So one of our superstar students with Ultimate Vida, she lives in rural Wales. So she lives on a farm, actually. And her old life looked like this. She would wake up at 4 a.m. She would work on her farm with her husband for about 2 hours until 6. She would then, you know, shower and change into her work clothes. She would drive an hour and a half to her regular job, which was a hotel manager, work an 8-hour shift, drive an hour and a half back home, have some dinner, go to sleep, repeat the whole thing. She then got her hands on a copy of this digital book, the same exact one that's available online. And she devoured it. She just was riveted, and she immediately saw this as her path to freedom. And she did not quit her job at the hotel, you know, that very day. But she was able to quit that job actually 77 days later, amazingly. And I'm not saying everyone, you know, will do it in 77 days. For some people, it might take a year or two to put everything in place, and that's absolutely fine. You know, we don't need to compare ourselves to anyone, but the point being, she found a niche she then validated, which is foraging. Actually, her niche is foraging. So, and I didn't even know what foraging was really before I met her. So foraging is basically using, like, you know, what you have around you, say in your backyard or outside for food, and for medicinal purposes, like using plants and flowers and basically nature for, again, for food and medicinal purposes. And so she, using the Ultimate Vida methodology, started developing courses and workshops and modules and community and events, both in person and virtual, around foraging, you know, teaching other people how to forage. And that was what enabled her to quit her hotel job. And she now makes more money teaching foraging around the world than she ever did at her regular job. And so I guess, I'm sorry, Chris Rich, if I rambled a little bit, but that was a way of saying that, you know, this methodology is universal and it's personal and it's intimate. It might be the right time for someone to kind of quit right away and go for it, but it might be the right time for someone else to take a more conservative approach and to build something slow and steady on the side. So it's very adaptable to your situation.
But when I read this book, what would be the next step that you're offering to support this journey? Are this a Facebook group or another community that I could join for free or for a fee? Or what exactly do you offer in detail with all these next levels?
Absolutely. So the Ultimate Vida, behind the book, there's a course called the Freedom Blueprints, which is basically, I think of it as like the book on steroids. So the book sort of outlines the big picture. It does also give quite a lot of detail, to be fair. But the course really takes it to the next level. It breaks everything into modules, into steps. It attaches success markers to each step so that you can kind of know if you're on track or not, whether you should proceed down a certain path or whether you should take a different path. And then, yes, we also have the Ultimate Vida tribe, the Ultimate Vida community. We also have coaching available. I do work selectively with, you know, with people who want coaching and support. And then what I'm really excited about is we're developing the Ultimate Vida Ambassador program. So, for example, the woman I just mentioned in foraging, she has fallen so deeply in love with the Ultimate Vida methodology and has seen firsthand how it can transform people's lives, that she came to me and said, you know, I don't want to just teach foraging. Like, I want to teach people Ultimate Vida. I want to show people how to get free, like I did, because I know how much it can change. So the reason I bring that up is because, again, it's a lot bigger than me. It's going to be learning and having support from different people.
So Jesse, it's not a business, it's a movement.
I do believe it's a movement. I believe it's a revolution. I believe, again, I think it's the great liberation.
Yes, totally. Yeah.
Sounds great.
So cool. What do you think, Chris Rich? Are you going to read the book then?
I need to have a look at this book, definitely. So where exactly can I get it? You need my email address or?
You can go to ultimatevida.com. I'll put that in the comments, but it's spelled just the way the word sounds, or actually behind me. The word ultimate and then vida.com.
Yeah.
You're also welcome to just shoot me a message. I'm happy to speak with you individually. I'd like to make myself as accessible as possible. I'm not like this mysterious guru often hiding or anything. I mean, Jessica knows we talk all the time. So
that's true. Yes, to me you're very accessible, even more, right? We talk every day. There's always something to discuss via, you know, even just 30-second note on Facebook, on WhatsApp, right? There's always something going on.
Absolutely.
Yes, exactly. I think we are done for today. It's already 5 over here in Europe. Jesse, where are you, by the way? You haven't told us where you are.
That's true. I'm still in coffee mode. It's 11 a.m. here. I'm in Reston, Virginia, which is about a half hour from Washington, D.C. 7 minutes from the international airport, if anyone wants to come visit.
Yes, let's go for the weekend. Let's go, Chris Rich, and visit Jesse.
Please.
Ultimate Vida weekend, and then we come back here. Yes, exactly. But thank you so much, Jesse. Is there anything that you would like to add before we go? Is there anything that I didn't ask you that I should have asked you?
No, I think this was a really good overview. Again, I'm an open book. I'm available. You know, please don't hesitate to ask any questions in the comments. You know, send me a message. I'm happy to help in any way I can. Whether that means, you know, through Ultimate Vida or helping you find something that's, you know, more right for you. But yeah, it's been an honor, and I hope I have the chance to share more with your community.
Yeah, definitely. We'll have you back on the show, on a personal PR show in the next few months, right? Yes. So, okay, there's something else that I wanted to mention. Yes. So basically, I loved it. My takeaway, I mean, I have so many takeaways, but one of the things that resonated with me most is when we were talking about this balance of time and money freedom. And then you were talking about also basically, okay, potentially making more money, maybe also through passive income, you know, selling books and selling courses and so on, and then working less actually. So the money goes up and the work that we need to work, the time that we need to work goes down. So, and this resonated with me particularly because this is also something that I want to help people with. In another way, I mean, there are different streets, roads that lead to Rome, right? So if Rome is like this situation that we have already just mentioned, like more money and less time, it's also for me about, you know, with personal PR, elevating your brand and then being able to raise your fees, right? I think this is where something that both of our methodologies are striving to. Like for me, it's about impact as well. It's for Ultimate Vida, it's impact as well. For me too. So build thought leadership and so on, also to have an impact on the world, a positive impact in the world. But certainly we all need to eat and pay rent for sure. And who would say no to a more comfortable lifestyle in which we have to work a little bit less and can make a little bit more money, right? Exactly. Plus that money, that surplus of money, we can also give it away. We can also, like, I like making donations, for example, to organizations that fight against animal farming. Yes, so I really resonated with that because I think that this is a goal that we have in common and we have different ways to achieve this goal. So yes, so I always like finding, you know, overlaps and basically also synergies. Yes, so this is where I'm rambling, but this is where we meet. One of the points there, where, you know, touch points where we meet.
Absolutely.
Exactly. So cool. Awesome. I would suggest that we go now. What do you think, guys? Let's go.
Let's go. Thank you so much, Jessica,
thank you so
for
much.
having me. Chris Rich, thanks for tuning in. And yeah, have a great day.
Thank you, Jesse. It was nice to be in the show. Come back to the show, please.
I will.
Take care. Ciao.